Well, so I was invited here to celebrate my birthday, right?
Look at her, a 74-year-old granny wanting her birthday celebrated. Hilarious.
Seeing my confusion, my daughter-in-law burst into laughter so hard she nearly fell out of her chair. Wiping tears from her eyes, she continued.
Actually, Zoe was selected to compete in a piano contest, so we're celebrating as a family now.
I asked Mom to take us to this famous sushi place.
That's why we chose this spot. But it's weird for you to be here, isn't it?
Grandma, you're not my family, you know.
My granddaughter's words pierced my heart.
Exactly. Since you're not our family, no food for you. Oh, but don't forget to pay $1,000 for the pickles, okay?
Her radiant smile didn't anger me. It filled me with emptiness. Fine, I'll handle the bill.
Thanks, and make sure to head straight home. You're in the way.
Listening to their cheerful voices behind me, I left the sushi restaurant. What a miserable birthday. The excitement I'd felt earlier vanished, replaced by a deep sense of despair. Unforgivable. If they think they can get away with this, they're sorely mistaken. I'll make them pay for all the things they've done up until now, all at once. My name is Kathy Yates, and I'm 74 years old. I raised my only son, Kevin, to adulthood and dreamed of traveling with my husband. But just as we were about to embark on those plans, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. Despite all the treatments, he passed away. While drowning in grief, my son introduced me to his fiancée. He had met her while working closely with her at a client company, where she was an office assistant.
Hi there, I'm Megan.
Her overly cheerful demeanor didn't seem to suit my quiet, kind son, but at nearly 40, this was the first woman he'd ever introduced me to. I decided to keep my opinions to myself. Throughout the meeting, her chatter overwhelmed me, and we wrapped up by setting a date to meet her parents. But then she suddenly lowered her head, tears welling in her eyes. It turned out her father was battling cancer. The mother has been spending all her time at the hospital, so it seems difficult to arrange a meeting with her parents. That's why we'll skip the ceremony and the honeymoon, just a simple registration.
I really want my dad to see his grandchild soon.
Seeing her tear up as she said this moved my heart, and I gave them my blessing for their marriage. I've never been the type of person to judge others or hold strong likes and dislikes. Even when someone's personality is completely different from mine, I find that difference intriguing and try to communicate with them. Before I know it, the gap between us closes. Because of that experience, I assumed I could get along with my new daughter-in-law as well. In fact, for the first few years, we had a pleasant, chatty relationship. The first time I felt something was off was when Megan visited with her young daughter and told me she had quit her job.
You know how sensitive I am, right? My workplace is so messy with all the drama, it just didn't suit me,
she said, lounging at the dining table, crossing her legs and flipping her bright, long chestnut hair in a bored manner. While chatting with her, I was putting an apron on a doll and setting it up in a dollhouse kitchen for my granddaughter, Zoe. Having a young child and working must be tough.
Exactly. But Kevin doesn't earn much, does he? So, could you please give me $1,000 a month?
The doll slipped from my hands. What? $1,000 a month?
Zoe is going to need more money soon, right? It's unfair for her to live poorly just because Kevin hasn't been promoted yet.
But wasn't your part-time salary $600? She pouted at my remark.
The rest was for my allowance. Moms need to look good for their kids, you know. Once I find a good job, I'll start working again. It's just until then.
Even though $400 seemed excessive as pocket money for a stay-at-home mom, I couldn't bear the thought of my granddaughter suffering. Looking at her round cheeks, as soft and squishy, while she brushed her doll's hair, softened my heart. All right, but just until you start working again.
Yay! Thank you so much. Oh, and please keep this between us. I wouldn't want Kevin feeling bad about not earning enough.
All right, I understand. My cheerful daughter-in-law snatched the $1,000 I had prepared in an envelope and promptly left with Zoe. That marked the beginning of her frequent requests for money.
I need a break from childcare. Can I have $100 for a spa visit? My body feels stiff, so I should join a gym. Could you cover the registration fee?
Whenever I tried to refuse, she would always resort to tears.
You know my father's cancer has relapsed, right? He's been told he only has 3 years left. I can't rely on my family for help. You're the only one I can turn to, so please help me.
Listen, Megan, I think you should manage things within your household budget as much as possible. Have you discussed this with Kevin?
He's swamped with overtime. Besides, it would make him feel bad about his low salary, and I don't want to hurt his pride.
It was true that my son was busy. He only came around for holidays, and even then, when Zoe visited, it was usually just Megan with her. I wanted to have a quiet conversation with him, but it was always difficult with Megan or Zoe around. Calling him on the phone was futile for the past 6 months. I'd only get a message saying, "The phone is either off or out of service." Although I had savings and could afford to help, the fact that the money was going toward her allowance left a sour taste in my mouth. Still, thinking of her family situation, with a father battling cancer and a mother supporting him, I couldn't bring myself to say no. As I got to know her better, the bright and lively daughter-in-law I thought I knew revealed a sharper tongue. She would chatter on about her mom friends or acquaintances, often in front of Zoe, which I worried wasn't great for a child's upbringing. What irked me even more were her comments about her looks and the disparaging way she talked about my son.
You must be thrilled to have a beautiful daughter-in-law, right? You should be more grateful to me for marrying your plain, boring son. I had plenty of other options, you know.
While it was true that Megan was beautiful, hearing her say such things always pricked at my heart. One day, when she repeated that line, I finally spoke up. Kevin may not be handsome, but he has a kind face, and you can be a stay-at-home mom because he works so diligently at his job. It's been 5 years since Megan quit her job, and there's no sign of her looking for another. When I said that with firmness, her eyes narrowed in anger. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but couldn't seem to find the words. Mouth pressed tight, she hurried her still-playing daughter and left the house. I wondered if I'd said something unnecessary, but I didn't regret it. Sure enough, Megan planned her retaliation. The evening before my weekend birthday, Megan called me. I hadn't heard from her since our last exchange of words. Already weary of what was likely another request for money, I answered the phone.
Kathy, are you free this weekend?
Do you need me to watch Zoe again? I asked cautiously, but Megan laughed brightly.
Oh no, not at all. It's your birthday, isn't it?
What?
I heard Kevin could take the day off, so we thought we'd celebrate. You know that fancy sushi place near the station?
An image of the chic sushi restaurant popped into my mind. It's a popular spot often featured on TV and in magazines. Really, that place is expensive.
You've always done so much for us. We want to show our gratitude.
Even Megan's usually grating voice sounded delightful today. Really? That makes me so happy. I'll gladly accept your kind offer.
I'll make the reservation. Look forward to it.
Even after hanging up, I lingered in the happiness of the moment. It felt like a dream to have my son and his wife celebrate my birthday, a day I usually spent alone. And at such a beautiful sushi restaurant I'd always wanted to visit. Excited, I eagerly counted down the days. Finally, the day arrived. 5 minutes before the scheduled time, I stepped into the upscale sushi restaurant. Pushing past the pristine white curtains, I was greeted by the chef's hearty welcome. Inside the simple yet luxurious Japanese modern interior, Megan and Zoe were already seated at the shiny L-shaped cypress counter, both absorbed in their devices, Megan on her phone, Zoe on her tablet. The space exuded sophistication, but the contrast was stark. Megan, adorned with flashy accessories and reeking of perfume and cigarettes, and Zoe, giggling at videos on her tablet, seemed completely out of place. After a while, Zoe lifted her eyes from her tablet and spoke to her mother without acknowledging me.
Mom, I want the prawn. The scallops with salt and lemon and the tuna look good too.
Zoe, we have a reserved course meal today. Daddy will join us later.
The two seemed to be enjoying themselves, but I couldn't shake my nervousness. The last time I'd sat at a Japanese restaurant was with my late husband years ago. Though it was meant as a thank you for the financial support I gave them, celebrating my birthday in such a fancy place left me feeling more guilty than happy. In contrast, Zoe's composed demeanor as she flipped through the elegant menu struck me as unusual. She carried herself as if she were used to frequenting such high-end establishments, even at her young age. As I gazed around the elegant interior, Megan, who had been snapping photos of the counter and the restaurant, turned to me brusquely.
You're good now, right? Why don't you head home?
What?
If you want something from here, I'll give you the ginger pickles to take home later. I hate that stuff anyway.
I blinked, staring at Megan in disbelief. Wait, wasn't I invited here to celebrate my birthday? It's supposed to be a reservation for the three of us, me, you, and Zoe, right?
A 74-year-old granny wanting her birthday celebrated? That's hilarious.
Megan threw her head back in laughter, nearly falling out of her chair, wiping tears from her eyes as she continued.
Zoe was chosen to participate in a piano contest, so we're celebrating as a family. Kevin will join us later.
Zoe smiled sweetly beside her.
I asked Mom to take us to this famous sushi place.
That's why we chose this spot. But it's weird for you to be here, don't you think?
Grandma, you're not my family, you know.
My granddaughter's words pierced my heart.
Exactly. Since you're just an outsider, no food for you. Oh, but make sure to pay $1,000 for the ginger pickles, okay?
Megan's matter-of-fact tone didn't spark anger. It filled me with emptiness. Had they called me here just to make me pay? They even lied about celebrating my birthday. Too drained to argue, I stood up. All right, I'll handle the bill.
Thanks, and don't bother coming back. You're in the way.
Megan said, her voice laced with mockery.
Thank you for waiting. This is sea brim sashimi.
Wow, looks delicious.
Chef, bring your most expensive beer.
As their cheerful voices echoed behind me, I left the sushi restaurant. Just as I stepped outside, the head chef ran after me, calling out. After a brief exchange, I resumed my walk. Through the bustling streets filled with families and couples, I trudged toward the train station, staring down at the tips of my black pumps. With each step, a growing wave of sadness consumed me. What a miserable birthday! I had dressed up like a fool, believing they were going to celebrate my birthday. That morning, I'd gone to a salon, had my gray hair freshly dyed, and even requested a stylish set. I paired my beige jacket with a designer bag, tied a floral scarf at the collar, and applied meticulous makeup. The hairdresser had even complimented me, saying, "You look stunning." But now, all the excitement I'd felt earlier had vanished, replaced by utter despair. Biting my lip, I walked along the cobblestone street with tears streaming down my face. Unforgivable. Calling me out under the pretense of a birthday celebration, only to take a large sum of money from me. If they think they can get away with this, they're sorely mistaken. She'll pay for every selfish thing she've done up until now, all at once. On my way home from the sushi restaurant, my phone vibrated constantly. Looking at the screen, I saw Megan's name repeatedly. She had tried contacting me through both messages and calls. Her desperation was clear, but knowing her reason, I ignored them. By midnight, the attempts finally subsided, only to resume at dawn with another flurry of messages and calls. By the time the count hit 100, I reluctantly answered.
Why haven't you been answering? This is a disaster.
Pulling the phone away from my ear, I deliberately replied in a calm, leisurely tone. "Oh, what's the matter?"
We got caught for skipping out on the bill. I told you to pay $1,000, but you didn't, so they held us. And now I'm sober thanks to that.
"Is that so?" I added silently to myself. Serves her right. To be precise, I had initially paid the $1,000 bill, but the head chef had run after me and handed it back. When I paid the bill and left, the chef came out saying he couldn't accept the money.
What? Why?
Apparently, your rude comments reached the kitchen. Plus, your and Zoe's behavior was unpleasant, so he wanted you to take responsibility for the payment. I relayed the chef's complaints one by one. For people who seemed so familiar with high-end places, you had no manners. You walked in smelling of tobacco and perfume, strictly forbidden in upscale sushi restaurants. You kept on your accessories and watch, and even took unauthorized photos of the kitchen. On top of that, you criticized the first dish they served. The chef said he's banning you from the restaurant.
What? Just because it's a famous place? They think they can act all high and mighty. The customer is always right.
Megan spat, pulling out the classic complainer's phrase. Megan, are you still at the police station?
I'm at home. It was my first offense, and I told them I just forgot my wallet, so they let me go. Afterward, I withdrew money and paid $500 to the sushi place.
$500? How much did you drink? Even at a high-end restaurant, $200 would leave you with change.
Shut up. I was planning to keep the leftover as my pocket money, but that sushi place just had to stick their nose in.
Megan snapped in a sharp tone.
You're just my wallet, you old hag. Just pay up and keep quiet.
Well, so this is Megan's true nature. Does my son know?
How are you going to make up for this?
All right, I understand. Why don't you come over to my house tomorrow, but leave Zoe at home? Just you, Megan.
Fine, but this time, you better have $1,000 ready.
She barked before hanging up. I switched off the recording function on my phone and smirked. The next day, Megan's visit began with her repeatedly pressing my doorbell. As soon as I opened the door, she marched into the living room and plopped onto the couch, crossing her legs.
Hand over $5,000 now.
She barked, extending her right hand toward me. Why has the amount increased?
Because you humiliated me. It's for damages, obviously.
She said as if it were the most natural thing in the world, twisting her lips into a sneer.
Honestly, you're such an old hag. Asking to celebrate your birthday at your age. How shameless. Here I am, struggling to live because of your useless son, barely making ends meet. $1,000 a month isn't even close to enough.
Then why don't you work, Megan? You seem to have money for Zoe's piano lessons and trips to fancy sushi restaurants.
Excuse me? Why should I work? It's a husband's job to provide for his wife and child without any problems. If he can't do that, then your son is a failure as a person.
Pointing her finger at me, she continued to rant.
You're his parent, so it's your responsibility to fix this. Now hand over the money.
So, I'm a failure as a person?
A low voice came from behind her. Megan's face froze in shock. As the door opened, Kevin stepped into the room. Megan jumped up from the couch, her voice trembling.
Kevin? I thought you were on a business trip in Japan.
I got back last week. When Mom didn't answer my calls, I called her myself. She told me everything.
You tricked me.
Look who's talking. The lies you've told Mom are ridiculous.
Kevin, usually so reserved, was now speaking to Megan in a stern tone.
You told her I earn a low salary and that we're struggling to get by. I got transferred from the branch office to headquarters, and my annual salary is over $100,000 now. We should be living comfortably.
That's strange. That's not what Megan told me. I interjected sarcastically, knowing full well the truth. Kevin shot a sharp glare at Megan.
Half a year ago, when I got a new phone, I told you to inform Mom about my new number. You said, I'll let her know when I call her. But Mom said she never got the message. What's going on?
I called his old number. No wonder Kevin didn't answer. Good thing no one else started using the number yet. Unused phone numbers are usually reassigned after a few months to half a year, but luckily that wasn't the case yet. And what about your father's terminal illness? That was a lie too, wasn't it? I said with a sigh. No wonder you refused to let me visit him in the hospital.
Because he wasn't in the hospital. You wouldn't want visitors if that's the case.
Oh, well.
He was hospitalized before the wedding, but he was discharged after 2 weeks. There's been no recurrence or metastasis, and he's been working actively since then, hasn't he? Cornered by the two of us, Megan shrank into the couch. Kevin, his brows furrowed, continued with a pained expression.
I've been away often on business trips, but you told me, leave everything to me. So I trusted you and focused on my work. You said you were getting along with Mom, and whenever I came home, you seemed to chat with her happily. I never imagined you were extorting money from Mom.
I've been hesitant, but I finally decided to call Megan's mother. Thanks to her, I got Kevin's contact information.
What? You called my parents? Mind your own business.
Megan shrieked, then clapped a hand over her mouth, realizing her mistake as she glanced at Kevin. Kevin sighed deeply, his face a mix of disappointment and frustration.
Every time I come back home, I notice new designer bags and jewelry piling up. Zoe's language has been getting worse. Mom stopped calling. And now I see you're the cause of it all.
Megan, pale and tight-lipped, suddenly shot up her head, glaring at both of us.
Enough about your precious mom. What's so wrong about taking money from someone who has plenty to spare? Looking good costs money, you know. A beautiful woman like me lowered herself to marry a boring guy like you. The least I deserve is to use money how I like.
Is that so? Then let's get a divorce. I can't agree with your way of thinking.
Kevin said coldly. Not to be outdone, Megan retorted.
I only married you because my boss introduced us. Turns out you're a huge disappointment. Unlike your stingy family, mine's wealthy. They let me spend however I want. I'll be glad to get rid of you.
With that parting shot, Megan stormed out. Well, that was a whirlwind, I said, finally relaxing my shoulders as the house grew quiet. After a brief rest, I began preparing dinner for two, but the doorbell suddenly rang. When I opened the door, a large man was standing there, gripping Megan by the collar. Behind him was a petite, refined woman.
Are you Kevin's mother? I'm David, Megan's father.
The man said sternly. Nice to meet you. I'm Kathy, Kevin's mother.
Please forgive this sudden visit. We came to apologize for our daughter's rudeness.
Well, is that so? Please come in. As I guided them to the living room, Kevin appeared, his expression a mix of surprise and concern.
David. Carol? What brings you here?
Kevin, it's been a while. I must apologize for the trouble our daughter has caused. We're here to make amends.
Sullenly seated on the floor, Megan kept her head down.
I spoke to Kevin earlier and was appalled by the lies Megan told. It's shameful, and the blame lies with us for spoiling her.
My daughter's behavior, taking advantage of your kindness and demanding money, is inexcusable. I can't even face you out of embarrassment.
Megan sat silently, sulking as her parents reprimanded her.
Just as Kevin suspected, Megan ran straight to us when he mentioned divorce. She complained endlessly, but we will ensure she completes the divorce paperwork soon. We've already contacted a lawyer and will update you shortly.
We'll also return every cent she took from Kathy.
Why should I return money that was freely given?
Be quiet.
Her mother snapped, silencing her immediately. Megan's father bowed his head to the floor.
I deeply apologize for the disgraceful behavior of my daughter. Please proceed with the divorce.
Please, lift your head.
Let's leave the legal proceedings to the lawyer. If there's anything else, feel free to reach out.
Kevin told them in a calm voice. Megan, the only one still resistant, remained sullen throughout the conversation. In the end, Megan grudgingly agreed to repay every cent, knowing a court battle would cost her more. Kevin gained custody of Zoe, and the two of them continued living in their current apartment. Kevin told his boss about his situation, requesting a transfer to a position with fewer business trips and less overtime to spend more time with his daughter. As for Megan, she received half of their shared savings in the divorce settlement, but it was nearly wiped out by her repayment to me. Her parents disowned her, leaving her to move into a rundown apartment and start working part-time.
Don't make me do such menial tasks. Raise my pay.
She reportedly shouted at her new bosses, only to get fired repeatedly. Still addicted to luxury shopping, she found herself buried in debt and living a troubled life. Now free from Megan's financial demands, I feel rejuvenated and at peace. On days when Kevin has to work late or travel, I visit their apartment to have dinner and play games with Zoe. Though she once mimicked her mother's disdain for me, she now adores me, and I've grown even fonder of her. With no fear of unexpected visits, I've reclaimed my freedom, spending my days enjoying theater performances and gardening. I look forward to watching my granddaughter grow while savoring my leisurely retirement,